The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council chamber caught the light of three setting suns, casting prismatic shadows across the assembled delegates. High Speaker Carax adjusted his ceremonial robes, multifaceted eyes scanning the gathered representatives of the 12 most advanced civilizations in known space. The chamber hummed with quiet conversations in 100 different languages, all discussing the same topic: the arrival of Earth's first representative. The human approaches, announced the chamber herald, their translator Crystal struggling to maintain neutrality. A ripple of amusement passed through the gathering. Several delegates activated their data screens, displaying Earth's technological achievements, or lack thereof, with poorly concealed disdain. Dr. Sarah Chen entered wearing a simple black uniform adorned only with Earth's planetary crest. Her steps echoed against the crystal floor, steady and unhurried. Where other species might have shown awe at the chamber's grandeur, her expression remained serene, almost knowing. "Welcome, representative of Earth." Carax's voice resonated through the chamber. "We have reviewed your species application for council membership." He paused, mandibles clicking in what his species considered a diplomatic gesture. "While we acknowledge your achievement in reaching the stars, we must note that humanity's technological development is preliminary." Scattered chuckles echoed through the chamber. The Arcturian delegate, resplendent in quantum-shifted robes, leaned forward. "Your species achieved faster than light travel mere centuries ago. The youngest among us mastered it millennia before your kind left their atmosphere." Sarah Chen smiled, reaching into a pocket of her uniform. The chamber's security systems remained quiet. They had detected no weapons or threatening devices. She withdrew a small sphere, dull and metallic, seemingly primitive compared to the advanced technology surrounding them. "Honored Council," she spoke for the first time, her voice clear and confident. "Before you pass judgment, I would like to share something with you." She placed the sphere on the speaker's podium. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air above the sphere shimmered. Star charts materialized, spreading across the chamber in 3 dimensions. At first, the council members looked unimpressed, until they began reading the dates embedded in the data. "There must be an error in the translation," the Proximate representative buzzed, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. "These charts, they predate the formation of the council. They predate the evolution of my species," added another delegate, bioluminescent patterns flashing with agitation. Sarah Chen's smile never wavered. "The dates are correct. These charts were created 5 billion years ago by the ones you would call the precursors." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "My ancestors." Chaos erupted in the chamber. Delegates demanded explanations, others called for verification, while some simply sat in stunned silence. Carax raised all 4 arms for quiet, but the commotion continued until Sarah activated another function of the sphere. New images appeared. Ancient structures on 100 worlds, each bearing marks that matched precisely with Earth's oldest archaeological sites. Genetic patterns splashed across the air, showing impossible similarities between human DNA and the base codes of every spacefaring race. Humanity, Sarah Chen continued into the shocked silence, did not recently achieve spaceflight. We recently remembered it. She stepped forward, her presence somehow filling the vast chamber. "We are not here to request membership in your council. We are here to warn you about what's coming. The same thing that forced us to hide ourselves away on Earth millions of years ago, waiting to evolve again." The chamber fell silent as the third sun set, leaving only the glow of the holographic displays illuminating faces filled with disbelief, fear, and dawning understanding. Humanity's application to join the Galactic Council had just become the smallest concern in the room. Xen archaeologist Ventar pressed his hand against the ancient wall, his sensitive finger pads detecting microscopic patterns that no scanner could match. The ruins on Proxima B had drawn researchers for centuries, but something about this chamber felt different. The air held the weight of forgotten millennia, and the walls seemed to whisper secrets in a language he couldn't quite grasp. "Professor, you need to see this," his assistant Talara called from the adjacent chamber. Her voice carried an unusual tremor that made Ventar's protective scales bristle. He found her staring at a section of wall she'd just cleaned, her cleaning tools scattered at her feet. The revealed surface bore inscriptions that seemed to shimmer in the work lights. Ventar approached slowly, his four eyes widening as the patterns resolved into recognizable forms. "Impossible," he whispered, reaching for his datapad with trembling hands. He pulled up the comparative linguistics database and began scanning. The results appeared instantly. 94% match with Sanskrit, an ancient Earth language. "There must be an error," Talara said, her tail twitching nervously. "The dating puts these ruins at least 2 billion years old. Humans weren't even primitive mammals then." Ventar was about to agree when his datapad chimed with an urgent message. Similar discoveries were being reported across the galaxy. On Centauri Prime, researchers had unearthed technology bearing unmistakable resemblance to ancient Earth artifacts. In the Sirius system, orbital platforms had been found with structural designs matching those of the Indus Valley civilization. "Contact the Council Archive," Ventar ordered, his professional detachment crumbling as implications cascaded through his mind. "We need to cross-reference every First Temple discovery from the past 1,000 years." Hours later, in the vast digital halls of the Council Archive, AI researcher Module 7 processed the incoming data streams. Its quantum circuits hummed as patterns emerged from seemingly unrelated discoveries. Every documented First Temple, every ancient outpost, every primordial ruin bore the same architectural signature, one that aligned perfectly with Earth's oldest structures. Back in the ruins, Ventar made another discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Behind a hidden panel, he found a device that defied analysis. It appeared simple, almost crude, until activated. The holographic message that emerged showed star patterns from billions of years ago, and the figure speaking wore a uniform identical to those found in Earth's prehistoric cave paintings. To those who find this message, the figure spoke in perfect modern common, the translation somehow flawless despite its age. "We leave these breadcrumbs not to guide you to us, but to remind us of who we were. When we return to the stars, these markers will help us remember." The message continued, but Ventar barely heard it. His mind was racing through every assumption archaeology had made about cosmic civilization. If humans had left these messages for themselves, if they had deliberately regressed their own development. His datapad chimed again. A priority message from the Council flashed across the screen. All archaeological findings were to be classified immediately. But Ventar knew it was too late for secrecy. Across the galaxy, pieces of a puzzle billions of years in the making were finally coming together. In his personal quarters that evening, Ventar recorded his findings with trembling hands. "We thought we were discovering the ruins of those who came before," he spoke into his journal. "Instead, we may be nothing more than an experiment, seeded by an ancient humanity that chose to hide itself in plain sight. The question that terrifies me most isn't why they did this. It's what they were hiding from." As if in answer, the ancient device pulsed once more, projecting a star chart showing a wave of something approaching from the galactic core. The timestamp indicated it would arrive within the year. Dr. Liang Wei's laboratory aboard Lunar Station Alpha hummed with the soft pulse of quantum computers. Holographic DNA strands danced in the air, their complex patterns casting blue-tinted shadows across her focused face. Her latest discovery had kept her awake for 3 Earth days straight, yet her hands remained steady as she manipulated the genetic displays. "Remarkable, isn't it?" she asked her guest, a young Centaurian scientist named Zartek, whose crystalline form sparkled in the holographic light. "Every species we've analyzed shares this particular sequence." Zartek's crystalline structure shifted in what humans had learned to recognize as confusion. "But that's not possible. Our species evolved on completely different worlds, under vastly different conditions." Liang smiled, turning to face her guest. "That's what everyone believed. But look here," she gestured, and the holographic display expanded to show genetic sequences from 20 different spacefaring races. With a few graceful movements of her hands, she highlighted specific segments in each strand. "This isn't convergent evolution. These are engineered markers." The Centaurian scientist moved closer, his crystalline form resonating with excitement. "Engineered by whom?" "By humans," Liang said softly, pulling up another display. "But not modern humans. Look at our own DNA." A new strand appeared, vastly more complex than the others. "Our genetic code is chaotic, bearing the marks of natural evolution, but buried within it. She zoomed in on specific sections, and Zartek's form pulsed with shock. Hidden within the apparent chaos of human DNA were perfectly ordered sequences, templates that matched the engineered sections in every other species. We didn't evolve from primitive apes, Lion continued, her voice barely a whisper. We devolved into them, deliberately. And before we did, we seeded the galaxy with modified versions of our own genetic code, creating species that would evolve along specific paths. A soft chime interrupted them as new data streamed in from research stations across the galaxy. Each report confirmed what Liang had discovered. Every known spacefaring race had been engineered using human genetic templates, modified and adapted for their respective worlds. But why? Zartek asked, his crystalline form vibrating with intensity. Why would an advanced species choose to devolve? Lion pulled up another display, this one showing a complex simulation. Because sometimes the only way to survive a predator is to become too small for it to notice. Look at this pattern we found encoded in junk DNA sequences. The simulation showed a wave of energy moving through space, disrupting complex technological systems but passing harmlessly through simpler ones. Whatever this is, it doesn't just affect technology. It interferes with highly engineered biological systems too. Zartek's form clouded with realization. All our races were engineered to be stable in the face of this wave. We're test subjects. Not test subjects, Lion corrected gently. Insurance policies. Different approaches to surviving whatever's coming. Some of your races develop crystalline computing, others biological technology, still others quantum manipulation. Each path represents a different possible solution. She turned back to the display of human DNA, highlighting its chaotic complexity. But humanity chose the hardest path. Natural evolution, no shortcuts, no engineered stability. We had to rediscover everything from scratch, developing technology through trial and error rather than following pre-planned paths. The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Both scientists stared at the dancing genetic displays, each processing the implications in their own way. Finally, Zartek spoke. You're saying that all our civilizations, all our technological achievements, were essentially guided experiments, while humanity deliberately regressed to redevelop along a completely natural path. Liang nodded, her eyes fixed on a new alert flashing on her screen. And now, we know why. The wave that our ancestors saw coming. It's almost here. Everything we've built, everything we've become is about to be tested. Above them, through the lunar station's transparent dome, Earth hung in space, no longer a cradle of primitive life, but a carefully crafted vault containing humanity's greatest experiment itself. The memory crystal pulsed with a soft blue light in Sarah Chen's palm as she stood before the assembled Galactic Council. Unlike her first appearance, the chamber now held a heavy silence. The recent archaeological and genetic discoveries had stripped away any pretense of superiority from the gathered delegates. What you're about to see, Sarah said, her voice steady, has remained hidden in Earth's core for over 2 billion years. It was recovered last month when the genetic key in our DNA finally activated. She placed the crystal into a reader that looked deceptively primitive. The chamber darkened and a figure appeared, a human woman wearing clothing that somehow managed to look both ancient and far more advanced than anything in the room. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of eons. To our children who remember, and to those we seated among the stars, if you're seeing this, the cycle approaches once again. The figure gestured, creating a holographic display of the Milky Way. Our civilization spanned the galaxy, but we discovered too late that we were not alone in the cosmos. The display showed a massive wave of energy approaching, consuming advanced technology in its path. Several council members shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the pattern from their own research. We could have fled to another galaxy, the ancient figure continued, but that would have meant abandoning countless developing worlds to their fate. Instead, we chose a different path. Earth, our most ambitious project, would become our sanctuary and cradle of rebirth. The hologram shifted to show Earth's geological history. We encoded our knowledge and technology into dormant genes, then engineered our own devolution. Our descendants would develop naturally, protected by their very primitiveness. Meanwhile, we seeded modified versions of our genetic code throughout the galaxy, creating new species to explore different evolutionary paths. Sarah paused the recording, turning to face the council. Earth isn't our birthplace, she said softly. It's our greatest achievement, a living archive designed to preserve not just our species, but our capacity to rediscover everything naturally. High Speaker Carax leaned forward. You're saying your ancestors chose to become primitive? To forget everything they knew? Not forget, Sarah corrected. Store. There's a difference. Every human invention, every technological breakthrough, every scientific discovery we've made has been a remembering. Our ancestors ensured we would redevelop everything through natural progress, not inherited knowledge. The recording resumed, showing scenes of ancient humans preparing for their great regression. The wave that approaches affects not just technology, but the very principles of engineered evolution. Each seeded species represents a different attempt at finding a path that might survive. But our greatest hope lies in the slow, natural path we chose for ourselves. Murmurs filled the chamber as the council members realized the implications. Their civilizations, their technologies, their very evolution had been carefully engineered experiments. Only humanity had taken the long road, developing without shortcuts or predetermined paths. The ancient figure spoke one last time. To those we seated among the stars, you are not our experiments, but our children. Each of you represents hope for a different way forward, and to our own descendants who remember this message, the garden called Earth has served its purpose. The knowledge buried in your genes will continue awakening. Use it wisely. As the recording faded, Sarah faced the council again. We didn't come here seeking validation or power. We came because our ancestors' warning is finally relevant. The wave approaches, and most of your civilization's technology will fail when it hits. You've all been rushing to replicate our primitive technology, thinking it inferior. Now you know why it works the way it does. Outside the council chamber's windows, Earth hung in the distance, no longer appearing as the quaint homeworld of the young species, but as the most sophisticated vault ever created, one that had protected not just humanity's existence, but their ability to forge their own path back to the stars. Admiral James Chen stood at the observation deck of Lunar Station Alpha, watching the distant stars with an intensity that made his aide nervous. One by one, automated reports were coming in from the outer systems. Strange energy readings, communication disruptions, and unexplained technological failures were spreading like a slow tide across the galaxy. Show me the Arcturian border outpost footage again, he commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing scenes from 12 hours ago. The advanced Arcturian defense systems, pride of their military might, simply stopped working. No attacks, no hostile action. They just went dark. Sir, his aide, Lieutenant Rivera, reported, we're receiving similar reports from 6 other sectors. The Centaurian quantum networks are experiencing cascading failures. The Proximan crystalline computing grid is showing signs of degradation. On the other side of the station, Dr. Sarah Chen was conducting an emergency council session via holographic link. The chamber that had once radiated skepticism now crackled with fear. The wave affects different technologies in different ways, Sarah explained, pulling up data streams from across the galaxy. Quantum computing networks are the first to fail. Crystalline matrices follow. Even biological tech isn't immune. The more engineered and optimized it is, the more vulnerable it becomes. How do we stop it? Demanded the Arcturian representative, their usual arrogance replaced by barely concealed panic. We don't, Sarah replied simply. Our ancestors couldn't stop it either. That's why they chose a different approach. She gestured, and new data appeared. Look at Earth's technology. Our computers are slower but more stable. Our engines less efficient but more reliable. Everything we develop follows natural principles, discovered through trial and error rather than optimized design. The Proximan delegate's crystalline form shimmered with agitation. You expect us to abandon centuries of advancement to adopt your primitive systems? Primitive. Admiral Chen stepped into view of the holographic transmission. Let me show you something. He transmitted data from a secret Earth facility. This is footage from our first encounter with the wave effect 50 years ago. Watch what happens to our primitive technology. The display showed an Earth research station as the wave passed through it. While advanced sensors and quantum devices failed instantly, the basic systems, built on natural principles and simple engineering, continued functioning perfectly. We've been preparing for this moment for decades, the Admiral continued. Every Earth ship, every station, every colony is built to withstand what's coming. We can help you convert your essential systems, but time is running out. As if to emphasize his point, new alerts flashed across the displays. The wave effect had reached the mid-rim systems. Millions of devices were failing simultaneously. Space traffic control systems crashed, stranding ships in orbit. Medical facilities scrambled to switch to backup systems. Sarah turned back to the council. We didn't reveal ourselves to claim superiority. We did it because we remembered the responsibility our ancestors accepted. We can help you survive this, but you have to trust us. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices as delegates argued about their options. Through it all, Sarah watched the sensor readings with growing concern. The wave was accelerating. On the observation deck, Admiral Chen received a priority message from Earth Command. The encryption was simple by galactic standards, but it would keep working long after the more advanced systems failed. It's happening faster than we predicted, he muttered, reading the report. We got weeks, not months. He turned to Lieutenant Rivera. Begin Operation Legacy. All ships switch to baseline systems. Activate the emergency broadcast network. As alerts echoed through the station, Earth glowed quietly in the viewport. Humanity had spent centuries looking primitive to the galaxy's advanced species. Now that apparent primitiveness might be the only thing that could save civilization itself. The stars were going dark, but Earth's light would endure, just as their ancestors had planned. The Arcturian flagship Eternal Dawn dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. Behind it, 30 warships formed an attack pattern that their tactical computers claimed was unbeatable. Supreme Commander Vexthal watched Earth's apparently primitive defense grid with contempt. Their deception ends today, he announced to his bridge crew. No species maintains such technological regression without hiding something. We will take their secrets before this wave destroys everything we've built. On Earth's lunar surface, Dr. Lion Wei worked frantically with a team of alien scientists, converting their equipment to Earth-based technology. Holographic displays showed the wave's progression across the galaxy, each failure point marking another civilization facing collapse. The quantum core isn't accepting the conversion protocols, reported Zartek, its crystalline form dulled with exhaustion. We're losing too many systems too quickly. Lion pulled up new schematics. Stop thinking in terms of optimization. Your systems are too perfect, too efficient. We need to introduce controlled chaos, natural redundancies. She demonstrated with a primitive-looking circuit design that somehow maintained quantum stability. The facility's alert system suddenly blared. Lieutenant Rivera's voice came through on the simple radio system. Arcturian battle fleet detected. They're not responding to hails. Admiral Chen requests all non-essential personnel evacuate to the emergency bunkers. In lunar orbit, aboard Lunar Station Alpha, Admiral Chen watched the approaching fleet with an expression of resigned determination. They still don't understand, he said to Sarah Chen, who stood beside him. They think we're hiding advanced technology, when our greatest strength is exactly what they see. The council is split, Sarah reported, her eyes on the tactical display. Half are working with us to convert their systems. The others, she gestured to the approaching fleet. They think we're lying about everything. The Arcturian fleet moved closer, their advanced weapons charging. Supreme Commander Vexthal opened a communication channel, his voice filled with righteous fury. Surrender your hidden technologies, or we will take them by force. Your primitive defenses cannot withstand our advanced weapons. Admiral Chen's response was calm. You're right, we don't have advanced weapons. He pressed a simple red button on his console. We have tested once. The Earth defense grid activated. To the Arcturian sensors, it appeared absurdly simple: kinetic weapons, chemical rockets, and radio-guided platforms. Their tactical computers predicted total victory within minutes. Then the wave hit the first ship. The Arcturians watched in horror as their quantum-enhanced shields flickered and died. Their crystalline computing cores, the pride of their civilization, went dark. Targeting systems, navigation computers, and communication arrays failed simultaneously. But Earth's primitive defense grid continued functioning perfectly. Simple railguns fired with devastating accuracy. Chemical rockets, guided by basic radio controls, struck with unerring precision. The mighty Arcturian fleet found itself defenseless against technology they had dismissed as obsolete. "Hold your fire," Admiral Chen commanded as the Arcturian ships began to drift. "Prepare rescue operations. They're about to lose life support." In the lunar facility, Liang and her team watched the battle's aftermath on simple LED screens. "Now do you understand?" she asked her alien colleagues. "This is why we chose the slow path. Every technology we use has been tested by time and natural development. No shortcuts, no optimizations, just reliable, proven systems." The Arcturian flagship drifted powerless in space, its crew now dependent on the very humans they had come to conquer. As rescue ships approached, Admiral Chen received another priority alert. The wave had just hit the Proximate Core worlds. Their entire civilization was going dark. "We're out of time," he announced to all channels. "From this point forward, Earth's primitive technology is the only technology. The question is no longer whether to adapt, but how quickly we can save those willing to accept help." In the distance, another star went dark, marking the wave's relentless advance toward the heart of galactic civilization. Dr. Sarah Chen woke with a headache and memories that weren't her own. Around the world, billions of humans were experiencing the same phenomenon. Knowledge buried in their genes for countless generations finally surfacing. The genetic keys had turned, and humanity was remembering. In her quarters aboard Lunar Station Alpha, Sarah sketched complex equations on a simple paper notepad, her hand moving almost automatically. The mathematics described principles that modern science hadn't yet discovered, yet somehow she knew them as intimately as her own name. "It's happening everywhere," Admiral Chen reported during the emergency briefing. His own eyes held the distant look of someone accessing ancient memories. "Every human over the age of 12 is experiencing the awakening. The genetic archives are unlocking exactly as our ancestors planned." The holographic displays showed scenes from across Earth. In Beijing, a street vendor suddenly understood how to build a quantum stabilizer using parts from an old radio. In Lagos, a school teacher drew plans for a gravity manipulation device while her students watched in awe. In Sao Paulo, a farmer assembled a weather control system from irrigation equipment. Dr. Liang Wai burst into the briefing room, her usual composure replaced by urgent excitement. "The bunkers are opening," she announced, bringing up footage from sites around the world. "They're not just storage facilities, they're templates." Deep beneath every major city, hidden vaults were activating. But instead of releasing stored technology, they contained something far more valuable: manufacturing systems designed to work even after the wave hit. Each bunker held the means to rebuild civilization using principles that would survive the coming catastrophe. Our ancestors didn't just leave us their knowledge, Sarah realized, ancient memories crystallizing into understanding. They left us the tools to rebuild everything, but only after we learned to do it the right way first. In orbit, the remnants of the Arcturian fleet watched in astonishment as Earth's apparently primitive infrastructure began to transform. Solar panels shifted into configurations that defied known physics. Simple radio towers started broadcasting signals that somehow remained stable despite the wave's interference. "It's not advanced technology," Sarah explained to the stunned council representatives. "It's deep technology, built on principles so fundamental that even the wave can't disrupt them. Our ancestors spent generations developing these methods, then entrusted them to us through the longest possible path." The awakening wasn't just affecting infrastructure. Humans found themselves instinctively understanding how to modify their existing technology to withstand the wave. Cars were converted to run on principles that wouldn't fail. Communication networks were rebuilt using methods that looked simple but operated on levels that advanced alien science had never imagined. "We needed to develop everything ourselves first," Admiral Chen said, watching the transformation unfold. "If we started with this knowledge, we'd have taken the same shortcuts everyone else did. We had to learn why every step worked before we could understand what our ancestors left us. In the lunar facility, Zartek and the other alien scientists watched in amazement as their human colleagues modified complex equipment with seemingly primitive adjustments that somehow made them wave-resistant. All this time, the Centaurian whispered, "We thought we were the advanced ones." Sarah accessed more of her awakening memories, understanding flowing like a river through her consciousness. "Our advancement wasn't in the technology," she said. "It was in the patience to walk the longest path, to learn everything the hard way first, so we'd understand it completely." Around the Earth, hidden bunkers continued to open, each revealing another piece of humanity's true heritage. Not weapons or power sources, but something far more valuable, the knowledge of how to build technology that would endure anything the universe could throw at it. The wave was still coming, but humanity was finally ready, not because they were the most advanced species, but because they had chosen to be the most thorough. The wave arrived on a Tuesday morning. From Earth's surface, it looked like a subtle aurora spanning the entire sky. In orbit, the remaining alien ships watched as the phenomenon that had devastated half the galaxy finally reached the Sol system. Supreme Commander Vextal, now a refugee aboard Lunar Station Alpha, held his breath along with everyone else. The wave hit. Advanced systems across the system went dark, except on Earth and its colonies. There, life continued almost normally, protected by technology that looked primitive but operated on principles far deeper than mere advancement. Report: Admiral Chen commanded from the Lunar Command Center, using a radio system that seemed absurdly simple to alien eyes. "All Earth systems functioning at optimal capacity," Lieutenant Rivera responded. "The modified alien facilities are holding stable. We're registering 97% survival rate for converted technology." In the rebuilt council chamber, now operating from a bunker beneath Geneva, Dr. Sarah Chen faced the representatives of a transformed galaxy. Some attended via holographic broadcasts running on newly converted systems. Others, their homeworlds dark, attended in person as refugees. "The wave will take approximately 3 standard months to pass," she explained, her voice carrying the weight of both modern knowledge and ancient memory. "During that time, we'll continue converting essential systems using the templates from our awakened archives." "And after?" asked the Proximan delegate, their crystalline form dimmed by recent events. Sarah smiled. "After, we rebuild, not to restore what was lost, but to build something better, something that will last." In orbit, Dr. Liang Wei supervised the construction of the first new old shipyard. The facility used principles that looked like they belonged in humanity's industrial age, yet somehow produced vessels capable of stable, faster-than-light travel. The key was never advancing, she explained to Zartek, who had become one of their most dedicated students. It was about understanding. Every primitive step we took, every crude device we built, was teaching us the fundamental rules that make the universe work. Around Earth, a new civilization was taking shape. Humans, their genetic memories now fully awakened, worked alongside alien refugees to build a society that could withstand any cosmic catastrophe. The technology looked deceptively simple: steam engines operating on principles that defied quantum physics, radio systems that somehow maintained faster-than-light communication, and power plants that seemed to run on basic chemistry but produced energy that could drive starships. In the council chamber, Sarah unveiled the final part of humanity's awakened legacy. "Our ancestors didn't just give us the means to survive the wave," she announced. "They gave us the knowledge to prevent the next one. But it will take all of us, working together, learning each principle from the ground up." The assembled delegates, humbled by recent events, listened as she outlined a plan spanning centuries. There would be no quick solutions, no advanced shortcuts. Like humanity's path on Earth, it would require patience, understanding, and the wisdom to learn things properly. Admiral Chen, standing at the lunar observation deck, watched Earth shine below. Humanity had come full circle, from advanced civilization to primitive survivors, and now to something entirely new. They were neither the most advanced species nor the most primitive. They were simply the ones who had taken the time to learn things right. Ready the announcement, he instructed Lieutenant Rivera. "It's time to let everyone know the next phase." Across the galaxy, on worlds lit only by starlight and emergency power, the message went out on simple radio waves that somehow crossed light years instantly. To all civilizations affected by the wave, Earth stands ready to help. We offer not advancement, but understanding, not shortcuts, but knowledge. Come learn with us, and together we'll build something that will truly last. The wave passed, leaving a changed galaxy in its wake. But this time, humanity wasn't hiding. They were teaching, guiding, helping others understand the principles they had spent so long learning the hard way. They had become what their ancestors had intended, not conquerors or saviors, but guardians of knowledge that could withstand the tests of time itself.